Joining us on the Jim Masters Show live series, Renee Martin. Yes, coming to us live from Nashville, Tennessee, USA. Award-winning singer, songwriter, producer, arranger, vocal coach, music coach, life coach, and so much more. She might even belt out a tune or two for us spontaneously. Surprises always happen on the Jim Masters Show. Hey, everybody, this is your host, Jim Masters. Welcome. We're coming to you from what we call Loveless Hall. That's here in the New York area, the Northeastern United States, along the Southern New England coast between New York and Boston. How's everybody doing today? Another straight out day for me. I had 5 radio shows that I hosted. We had a TV shoot as usual and just a lot of crazy stuff. And of course, St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow for those that are watching live. So happy St. Patty's Day. We're Irish on mom's side. They hail from Ireland. So we are going to be celebrating on St. Patty's Day, and I hope you are as well. We'll be wearing green all day long. Even the socks will be green as usual. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for joining us. If this is your first time stopping by the show, we always like to introduce ourselves to our viewers who are watching for the first time. This is the Jim Masters Show series, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Again, our guest is Renee Martin. And if you'd like to comment during the show while the show is on live, you can certainly do that. You can comment in what we call the JMS Loveless Hall chat room. And that is the chat room we have available during the course of the actual show. And that's the chat room that's on the YouTube channel when the show is live. So you can actually check that out, and you can join us, and you can chat, and you can say hello, and you can enjoy saying hello to one another and to all of us. When you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can comment freely in the JMS Loveless Hall chat room. So it's kind of cool. Welcome to everybody. If this is your first time stopping by JMS, it's really cool to have you with us. And it's also cool to have Renee with us as well. She's joining us from Nashville. Let me tell you first about her extraordinary background. Now, she, in addition to everything else I just described, she has been a phenomenal backup singer as well, and has shared the stage and toured with many legendary artists as well, including Tim McGraw and Faith Hill and Billy Dean. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We'll talk about it. But she comes as well herself from a legendary and iconic Nashville musical family on many, many levels, like 3 generations of iconic musical heritage. And they've all made their living in the Nashville music industry. Pioneers, musicians, singers, songwriters, actors, producers, all in her family. Among some of the roles that have been played, well, they are Music City royalty for sure. And so is Renee. And it's amazing. We're going to talk about some of the extraordinary people in her life through the years who have really put Nashville, Tennessee on the map. And Nashville has just become such an extraordinary hub, not just for what you would think is just country music. Nashville now is like the music capital, just about. It is extraordinary. Here are some really cool photos of some of the musical family history that is in her family. We're going to talk about it. We're going to let you know who all these fine folks are. And she, as well, as I've mentioned, has toured with some of the greats, performed with some of the greats. There is, of course, Ringo Starr. Yes, very, very cool, huh? And so many other great artists. She herself is, again, a prolific singer-songwriter. She also coaches others, and she's a life coach too. In addition to everything else, I thought I was busy. She is extremely busy herself, and she's all set up sort of in like her studio atmosphere. And we are very honored to have her here on the show. So join me in welcoming Renee Martin, singer-songwriter extraordinaire, to the Jim Masters Show live. Renee, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me, Jim. It's great to be here. I can't wait to see the comments later and respond to everybody. But thank you for being here, everyone.
The pleasure is all mine. Now, a couple of mutual friends. You really enjoyed the episode with our friend Peter Bliss and also Carol Grace Anderson, who's, again, another gem of a person. So you're very familiar with our series and what we do and all the levity and how we sort of progress with not interviews, but good conversations, right?
Exactly. I have loved watching your interviews and what you do. You're so warm and you make it just so easy for your guests. And I appreciate that in you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate those kind words too. We're going to have some fun today on this episode of the show. And we welcome everybody. If you want to comment during the show, feel free. Don't forget to give us a like and leave a comment in the comments section. So I mentioned this 3 generations of extraordinary, incredible background of music history. Tell us about some of it. And it's really iconic on so many levels, isn't it, Renee?
Well, it's interesting. Yes. I am just now really beginning to write and speak about my family's heritage. I'm born and raised right here in Nashville in Davidson County. There might be 2 or 3 of us in the music industry that I'm aware of. Matresa Berg, probably one of the greatest female songwriters that's ever been in Nashville, is one of my dearest friends. We started in the industry together when I was 17 and she was 18. And I took her to Tree Publishing, and she had a #1 hit song at 18 years old, about 6 months later, with the greatest songwriter in country music of all time, Hall of Fame member Bobby Braddock. He is not only a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, but the National Songwriters Hall of Fame. He is iconic, and she's the female version of him. But we went to Tree Publishing when we were 17 and 18, and she had her first #1, and I started singing and going on the road. It was fun. And that was the same time we met Billy Dean, about 10 years before he got his deal. And ironically, Matresa and Billy got their record deals right around circa 1990, but it could have been late 80s, early 90s. But they got their deals about 10 years later. And so I started saying, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success in my hometown. But anyway, yeah, great friends and 40 plus years of history in this industry. And yeah, lots of wonderful friends.
It's really amazing. And the family too themselves. I mean, you grew up surrounded by music. Tell us about some of the extraordinary inspirations growing up early for you that pointed you in the direction of doing this incredible work and being so immersed in the music industry, not just in Nashville, but, worldwide,
Yeah.
really.
Well, my dad was in country music for 30 years. He's in the National Thumb Pickers Hall of Fame along with his mother. You showed the picture a little bit earlier of Odell Martin, my father, and his mother, Ellis Martin, were inducted in 1999 into the National Thumb Pickers Hall of Fame. And that's actually my dad's hometown. That's Elkton, right next door to Allegheny, that doesn't even have a stoplight. And he was born in a little cabin there and grew up on a tobacco farm. Didn't take him long to figure out he did not want to spend his life suckering tobacco. So when he was 13 years old, his mother, Ellis Martin, put a Sears and Roebuck Silvertone guitar into his hands, and all they had was a radio, Jim, and they lived to listen to the Opry on Fridays and Saturdays. And my dad's dream was to play on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. And 3 years later, he was on it, and he spent 30 years backing legends, Farron Young and Kitty Wells and Johnny Wright and Mel Tillis and Donna Fargo, Patsy Cline, Dottie West, you name it, all of those early Opry shows in the 50s and 60s he was on. And then he toured and was a band leader. So I grew up right here in Nashville with famous people my whole life in our basement, with my dad rehearsing bands and hiring and firing musicians and putting the perfect bands together for the big stars. And so like Kitty Wells was like a grandmother to me. Her granddaughter's she is my oldest best friend. She's little Kitty Wells' granddaughter. And so many stories over my lifetime that I can't even begin, but on both sides, on my mother's side, her father was an early pioneer of Nashville. And he starred in Hollywood movies. A couple of classic Hollywood, like Ted Turner classics. And so, yeah, he was married. Well, he discovered he had a live radio show back when it was so great, when there were live bands, because we didn't have the technology we have now. So the bands would be live in the studio. And so he would hire the greatest players, session players that became legendary in this town. And he'd give them their first big break on his radio show. And it was called Big Jeff and the Radio Playboys. And that was in the 40s and 50s, before Nashville was Nashville. So it was back in the days of the Carter family, who were the founding family, along with Jimmy Rogers, of country music. And just so much history, but he had a lot of honky tonks. And so he met a comedian named Hattie. And she was on his show and sang in his Big Jeff and the Radio Playboys band. And so he left my grandmother for her. And they bought this honky tonk on Broadway that was called Mom's. And they remodeled it. And they asked the painter, to paint it. And they came back and it was this interesting shade of purple. And they said, oh, well, we'll just roll with it and call it Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. And he was married to Tootsie. So he is one of the original founders, along with her, of Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, which is the most famous honky tonk in the world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Huh?
Yeah.
That is so cool. What a history. I love this picture. This is Grady Martin at age 90, right?
She lived to be about
what a
93. She was still playing and singing at 93 years old when she passed. She was sharp, and she never drove a car. She was on that tobacco farm her whole life, and a godly woman, and just precious. She was the Norman Rockwell granny. Perfect granny, my Granny Martin. And she's in the Hall of Fame with my dad now. It's awesome.
Isn't that amazing when you have these opportunities to just really celebrate people and celebrate their lives? Have you been doing a lot of that digging now and looking at and sort of finding these nuggets of family history?
Yeah, interestingly enough, my father passed in 1985, so I've had a long time, to deal with that. But I was 20 years old when that happened. And afterwards, I just was so lost that I became very spiritually, got radically saved, and was an ordained evangelist for 30 years. And because of that, I gave up my country music dreams. And I just sang for the Lord, and no regrets at all. It was wonderful. But in those 30 years, my youth passed me by. And so I finally decided I'm going on the road. I'm just going to start touring with some of my favorite artists and singing backup, because that's what I really love to do, is sing harmony. But I sing lead too, and I have my studio here, and I send vocals all over the world. But yeah, I just started on the road when I was 17 with my dad and Billy Dean. We were a duet in Florida. That's kind of how it began for me. And just so much history, but I grew up in it. I was just born into it. And so I told people, I'm kind of a late bloomer now, speaking about all this, and I'm writing my memoir. And I want Nashville to know my history, because we just haven't ever promoted ourselves at all. But we have just so many roots here in Nashville. There's not a single person as a tourist that comes to Nashville that goes to Lower Broadway that does not grace Tootsie's Orchid Lounge and the Ryman Auditorium, the Mother Church of Country Music.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Grand Ole Opry,
Is this you here in this shot?
It could be. I'm not sure. Someone sent me that photo thinking it was.
How cool, huh?
I don't remember it if it is, but it could just be a stock photo of a kid that looks like me. I don't know. It was sent to me and someone said, is this you? I said, I don't know, but I thought, well, it's appropriate. And that is my family's legacy.
Look at this shot.
And that's my mom. And so you were asking me why now. My mother passed on December 22nd recently. And I decided to pay tribute to her because her best friend was Patsy Cline, who told her, girl, if you ever get serious about your recording career, you are really going to give me a run for my money. My mom and dad met at Tootsie's in between Opry shows. And that's because Tootsie's was perfectly situated right behind the Ryman Auditorium. And on the weekends when we're doing the Grand Ole Opry there are so many hundreds of musicians. And at the Ryman Auditorium, there's not a huge backstage area for anyone other than the stars who are performing on the show. So, all the musicians would barrel out the backstage door into the alley and go right into the back door of Tootsie's. So it became known as the green room for the Opry. And so my mother's stepmother, of course, Tootsie, my mom was always there. And she met my dad one night. She had previously been married to another thumb picker named Roger Smith, who had passed away. My oldest brother was about 2 or 3 years old when that happened. So my mom was a widow at 19. And then she lost my dad in 1985 when she was 46 or 45. So she was widowed twice, the only 2 men she ever knew. Her first and second husband widowed twice. But I decided when she passed, I took care of her for 5 years. She had dementia. And when she went into the nursing home, she was there about 1.5 years. And when she passed, it was peaceful. Dementia was good to her. If there's an upside to dementia, my mom was a very, very happy dementia patient. So it was very rewarding to have the privilege to care for her 24/7 for 5 years and just make sure all her needs were met. But I just decided to start gathering information about my family. And when my mom passed, we really gave her a great homegoing service.
With your mother dealing with the dementia, when music was played, maybe music from the past, music maybe she grew up with, or even her own, did it trigger anything? We have an aunt that is, God bless her, she's 95, and she has dementia. Has had it the last couple of years, actually. So made it all the way to 95.
Wow.
Just the last couple of years has it. But and she grew up in Austria, in Vienna. And sometimes on the radio, on the Bose radio that my cousin has on in the kitchen, sometimes there'll be a song that has almost sort of like a rhythmic marching beat to it. And it'll trigger her to start going bump, 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 just like that. And I told my cousin, I said, you know what? She might be hearing something that to her reminds her of her childhood, where maybe she heard like German marching band music or something with that sort of orchestral marching sound, because she responds to that and it makes her smile. And all of a sudden she's like moving along to whatever that nondescript song is and that rhythm is.
Yes. So it was so cool. The Christmas of 2020 was the last time we caught a glimpse of my real mother. And she had never been one to burst out in song spontaneously. You could hardly get her to sing when you asked her to.
Right.
She was kind of insecure. But anyway, to first finish the story about Patsy telling her to get after her recording career. When Patsy died in 1963, Mom quit singing for about 6 years. But then she took Patsy's advice and she cut 2 records. It was a single with an A and B side that Ralph Emery played for weeks, saying Judy Martin's the next big thing in Nashville. And she did not want to tour because she was raising 5 kids. My dad was on the road for 30 years. She was overprotective and just wanted to make sure we were okay. And she just did not want to tour to promote the record, but she would have been a very big star. And Patsy Cline would have endorsed that. So anyway, where was I? We were picking up when I was finishing that part.
Yeah, I was mentioning, did your mother respond
Yes.
to music and
Gotcha.
sounds like my aunt does when she hears certain music that goes back many years in her life?
During those 5 years that I cared for her, she could always recall music. And some of her favorite songs, she, of course, thought Patsy was the greatest singer ever. So I could sing, I'm back in baby's arms. How I miss those loving arms. I am back where I belong. back in baby's arms. She could remember any Patsy Cline song.
You have such a beautiful and powerful and strong, heartfelt voice. There's a lot
Thank
of
you.
energy and power and strength in your voice.
Thank you so much, Jim. I appreciate that. She could always remember You Are My Sunshine, and that was the last one she remembered. We saw her the month before she passed in November. My sister and I went, and she didn't remember her. She didn't remember who she was, her father, my dad, who was the love of her life. She didn't remember us. She could not remember one single thing, but she could always sing You Are My Sunshine. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Of course, that was written by Governor Jimmy Davis out of Louisiana. Interestingly enough, his wife, Anna Davis, was one of the original members of the Chuckwagon Gang. And I sang with the Chuckwagon Gang for a couple of years and sang Anna's part. So You Are My Sunshine is a song that's always been one of my favorites.
Yes.
And
It makes you feel good when you hear it, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. I mean, and Mama could always remember that. And I'm so glad. Her mother had Alzheimer's, and she became very testy and mean, kind of. So I'm so grateful that my mother was sweet. She got happier with dementia. It's like when you can no longer remember the painful past, it doesn't haunt you anymore.
Yeah.
So she was freed, and she was so happy. Those 5 years. It was beautiful. First time in my life I ever saw my mom truly experience joy. So I'm all about dementia for some. It's a beautiful, long letting go.
You
I
know,
call it the long letting go.
yeah, it's all in how, Merlin's saying that was lovely. Your voice, loving it. She's watching in Canada. And you know who else is here? Carol Grace Anderson.
Hi, Carol.
Great to see you here, she says. And we love you, Carol. Thank you very much.
We
Good to see you here in
Thank you for
Hall.
connecting me with Jim Masters. Thank you, Carol. You're a treasure. Thank you.
She sure is. Absolutely. On so many different levels. And wasn't that Peter Bliss episode unbelievable? What a master he is, huh?
Oh, I'm going to watch it again, Jim.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And send me links to all of those. I'm just going to have to go through and watch every video. I know you have so many.
On our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, about 900 episodes.
It's so great. Oh, my goodness. That's going to take a while.
Melissa Manchester, the Pointer Sisters, Florence LaRue. I mean, they've all come through.
Some of my absolute faves. I cannot wait. I'm going to watch every one.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And from all different backgrounds, too, which is really, really something. Lucy Arnez has been here. I mean, it's really been cool stuff. And yeah.
I wanted to finish the part about the Christmas of 2020, my mom bursting out in spontaneous song.
Which I think is terrific.
I happened to just look at her. We were videotaping because she was just in a really good mood and she was losing her mobility. We weren't sure how much longer she would be with us or what was happening next. So I just kind of said, "Hey, Mom, what's your favorite Christmas song?" And she totally said, she just burst out into, "I'm dreaming of a white Christmas," sang the whole thing, then went into another one and another one. She did 5 back to back without missing a beat. We have it on video. We will treasure that forever. It was almost like her final gift to us.
The power of Christmas music is something. I had this conversation with one of our guests the other night, and I think with a few others, but just even in general, I'm a big collector of it and have lots of music. We have a climate controlled storage bin we pay monthly for that has sealed LPs, reel-to-reel, cassettes, CDs, thousands and thousands of all kinds of music. But Christmas, there's something about Christmas music, the melodies, the feeling, the memories. And I was mentioning it to a session musician that was on the other night, talking about it and how, and I think I chatted with Peter Bliss about it too, about how they're like lullabies we've heard ever since we were born. Every year, no matter what goes on during the course of the 12 months of living, the good, the bad, the ugly, the crazy stuff, the weather and politics and prices of eggs and whatever goes on in your life the whole 12 months. Towards the end of the year, here comes that warm, loving, caring, sort of blanket-like holiday music, Christmas music that is reliable. And there, oh, come all ye faithful. Here they come again. And it's fantastic. I totally look forward to it. And I'm a believer that you don't even need to just have Christmas Day to listen to Christmas music.
365.
I got it on, well, not because it's, I'll hear
Me too.
vocal, choral, and also lots of instrumental versions of Christmas music, and all different, from Caribbean to orchestral to smooth jazz to, you name it. And absolutely, it's so I could figure your mother hearing songs that she's known all her life that have come back every year, and with Christmas probably meaning the world to her, the strength of it, the love of God, the love of family, just takes the dementia, what have you, just parts the seas like Moses and allows the essence of her to circumvent what's going on. The power of music and the power of specifically Christmas music. Do you, have you done, or is there a thought of a Christmas album with Renee Martin?
I have a Christmas album of covers. And
yes.
I've since written about 3 Christmas songs. And most recently, interestingly enough, I love Christmas music so much. But in 22, I had my first Christmas song in a movie. And it was kind of like one of those Hallmark movies. It wasn't
Hallmark, yeah. Oh, this is
Hallmark, but it was a movie like that.
This viewership loves those kinds of movies.
Good. Well, it was called Blessed. And it was about this little girl that was going through a lot of stuff. And so when her little teenage boyfriend breaks up with her at the fair, my song that I wrote with, or our song I wrote with David Norris, is called Forever Evergreen. We wrote it about a year and a half ago. And he got it into that movie. And it was, you have your first, and I would like to get into a major film someday, but that was a nice start.
Just to get in, because that's legacy. That's always in that. So every time that's shown or airs during holiday time or whatever, it'll always be there. Could you sing some of it for the audience? So they'll look forward to that.
Yeah. Let me think. The cooking, the wrapping, eggnogging. Let me think of it for a second. It's so new and I've never performed it. So let me just think of the chorus for a second.
You've got me on the eggnogging.
Let's see.
I'm hooked on the eggnogging already.
Grandma's cookies, grandpa's stories, children on his knee. Grandma, see. And may all your Christmas memories be forever evergreen. I'm so sorry. I've never performed it. We wrote it a year and a half ago. I haven't.
That's a beautiful, even just that amount. The
and I went blank on my own lyrics.
Our viewers are going wild. They're loving it. Thanks for all the great comments, everybody. It's beautiful. What inspired you to write it?
I think I wanted to capture. Our family usually celebrates like on Christmas Eve. And I wanted to capture that feeling in that moment, and this song completely captures it. Let me just pull up the lyrics right quick so that I can give you a decent, let me just grab that right quick.
Merlin in Canada was asking, do you play guitar?
I play enough to be dangerous. I never took up guitar because my dad was such a musical genius. Yeah.
It's a beautiful one on the wall to the right of you there by the microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Blondie. That is my breed love. I was going to get a Martin, but that's a breed love. And I had shopped for guitars for several months. And I just knew one day I would pick one up and it would just have that certain sound. It has a real nice low end, and it's rich. And so anyway, let me see if I can find
Is it steel
this here.
strings or nylon or
It's
acoustic?
it's strings. Okay, I have the lyrics now. You want to hear the song?
Yes, absolutely.
It goes, snowflakes falling, friends are calling, it's that time of year. Invitations, celebrations, glasses full of cheer. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I wish you joy and peace. And I hope that all your memories are forever evergreen. Old time carols, hark the herald, hear the angels sing. Exaltations, decorations, lights adorn the tree. Grandma's cookies, Grandpa's stories, children on his knee. It's a picture perfect scene. It's finally Christmas Eve. The cooking, the laughing, eggnogging and rapping, we're filling this home full of love. The winter wind's blowing and love's mistletoeing. It's all that December has been dreaming of. A nice guitar solo, and then Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I wish you joy and peace. And may the magic of this moment be an everlasting dream. And may all your Christmas memories be forever, ever green. It's kind of funny when you can't hear the chord progressions, but it is.
Everybody, as I've said
orchestrated
before, the test of a really good singer and vocalist is when she's not in a studio and when she or he doesn't have the orchestra, the band, or the instruments around her. There's nothing running through computers being twisted or, tweaked, just raw, direct. Bravo. Fabulous.
Thank
really
you,
beautiful
Jim.
song.
Beautiful You're sweet.
Song. I tell you,
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. So that's available. That's out.
Yes, it's on the soundtrack for the movie Bless. That's the one that was in the movie.
The one.
When the boy broke up with the girl and he took her to the fair to do it. And so she's standing there looking at him just broken. And she said, "Why did you bring me here?" And he said, "Because you love Christmas lights." As he's breaking up with her and shattering her heart. So it's right then that my little part comes in,
and really tugs at the heart right then and there. I have a colleague of mine that I worked with at iHeartRadio, shows I've hosted on iHeartRadio over the years as well. The girl that he was dating broke up with him via a text message.
Oh man, that's the worst.
And he was lost. He was shocked. He was disheveled and like a walking zombie. He's like, we were like, what? and we're like, you can't even like go out to a diner and have that final cup of coffee and a bowl of soup or something, or just
That kind of triggers
yeah.
something that recently happened to me. I had the most bizarre breakup of an engagement 6 months ago. He unfriended me on Facebook while I was under his roof with an engagement ring on that I'm trying to now sell. I haven't been able to sell the dress or the ring.
Was that a hint? The unfriending? What did the unfriending happen first while you were there?
Yes, I was under his roof in California. I had gone there for 2 months because my lease ran out, and he said, "Well, just come out here, and I'll set you back up when we get you back to Nashville." I'm head over heels in debt. His birthday was the day before, and I went all out trying to make it special for him because he told me how no one had ever celebrated him. So I celebrated him, and he sabotaged it. And so
does he do this too? Is he a singer, performer, entertainer as well, or no?
No, I mean, he's a drummer. He's a drummer, but he never became that. He worked in cartage in Nashville, but I won't mention his name. But his brother,
by your success.
His brother was one of my best friends. We started in the industry together. My dad gave him his first job when he came to town. We were teenagers. I was 17. I think he was 18. And he was a great pianist. And he's one of my dearest friends. But anyway, this was his brother who told me during the pandemic. I was isolated. I wasn't dating. I wasn't even leaving my house. And so I was probably a little vulnerable and lonely after 2 or 3 years of that. And so he swept me off my feet, and he reached out and said he'd had a crush on me for 40 years. I said, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" He said, "One of us were always in a relationship, so we were never single at the same time. So seemed like the right time now." And then he followed it up with saying, "I just always thought you were out of my league." Well, he was right. He was right, and I should have listened because, yeah. He couldn't live up to his height, but it just devastated me. So I drove 4 days, 40 hours, 10 hours a day from California with my 2 cats to get back to Nashville 6 months ago, and landed here, thank goodness, because of one of my best friends who's a huge hit songwriter. She owns this condo, and she said, "I just moved out Saturday, stay at my place." So she saved me. I would have been homeless. She saved me.
Really?
Wow. She wrote J-Lo's "Waiting for Tonight." Oh, she's awesome. She's written a lot of hits for Celine and you name it. She lives about 5 miles down the road. And her name's
sounds like
Maria.
a great guest too.
She'd be a great guest.
We had Holly Knight on. Holly Knight. I don't know if you know Holly.
I know her name.
Major hit songwriter for many, many artists. Especially in the 80s, Pat Benatar, Tina Turner, Simply the Best. I mean, all of those kinds of songs.
Yes.
And she came through here and was a guest. It was just amazing to Patti Smythe, The Warrior.
I covered all those songs in real time in the 80s, Jim.
The Warrior.
I am the Warrior.
Great song, isn't it? When you hear it, you're like. And
you mentioned Pat. My very first song I got paid to sing was "Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Fire Away."
I think we shattered a couple of windows here.
Sorry about that. Did we distort?
Wow. You got the power. The very powerful voice. I want to make
17 when that was a hit.
Well, that's fantastic. You are also a producer, an arranger, music, vocal, and life coach. Let's talk about the fact that you are somebody who mentors and inspires others who want to do this kind of work and get into this world as well. The music, vocal, and life coach part of your story.
Yeah. So as far as artist development and co-writing with young artists that are up and coming, I met an artist in 2015 named Lauren Massetti. And in 2020, the first song that we wrote was her first video release. It was called "Losing My Mind." It was a song that I had carried in my head and heart for 20 years. I had never documented it. I had never finished it recorded it. It was just in my mind. 20 years. And I had attempted to write it with about 5 other writers throughout the decades. And it just never came together. And I'm one, if I've got a song that I know is going to go somewhere, I'll hold on to it and just let it marinate. So all the music was written, the whole concept, the hook, the title, the intro, the outro, many of the lyrics were there. But I just needed to find the right co-writer. And it was Lauren Massetti. And so that was her first video release. And then in 2020, we wrote a song called If I Can Lose You. And just a few days after we wrote it, and any songwriter you ask what is their favorite song they've written, they're going to tell you the most recent one. It's usually the one they just wrote, you know.
They just
wrote. So it was the one we had just written, and American Idol called her for a private audition.
Wow.
And so she finished the competition at number 21, but she auditioned with our song, If I Can Lose You. So it gained a lot of, a following in social media, and people have been requesting for her to record it. Well, she finally recorded it, and we released a video that is an acoustic version of it, but I did all the background vocals on the album cut, the full production. And then we went into the studio this year to a legendary Nashville studio, Cowboy Jack Clements studio. We went there and shot the video and just did an acoustic version with dobro and her playing acoustic and me providing the harmonies, just the 3 of us. It was so intimate and so awesome. But I love discovering young artists that I really believe have the it factor. I've worked with a lot of talented young artists over the last 10, 15 years, but Lauren is the one. She will be iconic. She'll be a household name, but she's been on the Opry, and just last week or the week before, she sang that song for the second time on the Grand Ole Opry, If I Can Lose You. But it won her golden ticket to Hollywood, where she finished American Idol in 2020 at number 21.
How cool is that, huh?
And she's just everywhere right now. She is unbelievable.
She's all over.
Total package.
Talk about total package and all over the place. You've been as well singing and also touring with extraordinary fellow artists, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw and many, many others. Tell us about some of that as well. The fact that you're known also as a backup singer, an incredible backup singer for many of these superstars.
Thank you. It has been such a wonderful journey. Faith is my favorite boss that I had in 41 years of touring and studio work and performing on television. Faith, when she first came out with She's a Wild One with an Angel's Face. When I saw that video, when that first came out, I thought, who is that? And look out, every female artist in country music, because I know a star when I see one, and I know a hit when I hear one. And an old friend named Jamie Kyle, she was one of the co-writers on Wild One. So I started following Faith, and I thought, man, she is my dream artist. And one of the reasons is because Mama raised me on Patsy Cline, because, of course, like I said, that was her best friend. So I grew up singing Crazy, and I'm a crooner, and I've always belted like that. But the artist that really got me when I was little was Tammy Wynette. I'll need time to get you off my mind, and I may sometimes bother you, try to be in touch with you, even ask too much of you from time to time. She just moved me because she had a tear in her voice. And Patsy had that emotion too, the cry. Yeah. But Tammy had the tear and the soul. Yeah. Faith had that. So I heard that in Faith. When she released It Matters to Me, on the second verse, and this was before I toured with her, she was my dream artist that I could only have hoped to tour with. Never dreamed it would happen. But when I heard the second verse of It Matters to Me, where it says, baby, I still don't understand the distance between a woman and a man. So tell me how far it is and how you can love like this. 'cause I'm not sure I can. When we don't talk, when we don't touch. But anyway, that second verse where she says, baby, I still don't understand. The way she said understand, I said, she's a Tammy fan, no doubt. And so anyway, I just dreamed of singing backup for her. So in 97, I had asked a friend, I needed to go on the road to kind of distance myself from an engagement of 3 years back then that I just needed some space from. So I called my good friend Carl Jackson, who's a Grammy Award-winning producer in bluegrass and a hit songwriter who's written hits with Vince Gill, like there ain't no future in the past. He's written so many hits, but I called Carl, and all these years of being in the music industry, I never asked anybody for anything. But I needed to get out of Nashville and I needed to go on the road, and I wanted to sing backup doing something. I just needed to sing again. I said, Carl, if you hear of any gigs, please let me know. Because he'd been a band leader like my dad. They met in the early 70s. He was band leader for Glenn Campbell for 12 years. And that was the same time my dad was a band leader for Donna Fargo. So they met in Vegas. And I remember Carl in about 1996 gave me a cassette tape that he had hours of my dad playing the night he met him in my dad's hotel room. They went back and they played guitar all night, became the best of friends. So when my dad died, I never had anyone to fill that void until I met Carl Jackson. So that one time that I asked one person for a favor is the reason I toured with Patty Loveless, which led directly to Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, on and on and on. So you can't be afraid to ask for help. We all need help getting started, and we all need that support. But he's just been amazing. But so the Faith thing happened because Patty Loveless's guitar player auditioned for the acoustic job with Faith. And the band leader, Gary Carter, who was a steel player that played my first showcase here in Nashville at the Stockyard Bullpen when I was 17, Faith's band leader told Tim, oh, Tim, I'd hire you in a heartbeat. You're exactly what we're looking for. However, I just hired someone yesterday, but we're looking for a second backup singer. And he said, oh, call Renee Martin. He said, is that Odell Martin's daughter, Renee Martin? I know Renee Martin. He said, okay, I'll call her. So he called me, but I was on my 1-month honeymoon in Australia. And so I couldn't get back in time for the rehearsals and the tour. And he said, can't you send me something? I said, even if I could, Gary, I'm in Australia for a month. I'm committed. So y'all have to be going on the road in 2 weeks. I'm not there to rehearse. So I said, please don't forget me. Faith is my dream artist. Please keep me in mind. So a year and a half later, he calls me and he said, hey, he said, we need you to come out with Faith to finish the last 6 weeks of the This Kiss tour. Year and a half later. So I would have started with her at the beginning of her career had I been available that first time. And believe me, in hindsight, I wish I would have, because Australia didn't work out. So that's a whole other interview as far as my relationship.
That's a whole other. She'll be back for part 2 to tell us about the Aussie story.
That's a whole other cup of coffee,
From
Jim.
down under.
Yes. So
just coffee, not bourbon.
So that second time he called me was just to sub and finish the last 6 weeks of the This Kiss tour, and the song had just skyrocketed. She was no sooner on the CMA Awards as Nashville's newest female vocalist that she released This Kiss. It crossed over. Just to show you the power of one song in Nashville revolves around a song in the songwriting community. That's what Nashville is. It's all about the song. And so she releases This Kiss, becomes a global icon. I get in right about that time. But what's funny is the second time he calls me, I'm supposed to go out that weekend. Then he calls me the next day and says, oh, Renee, I hate to tell you this, but Kim Keys is available. And Faith has always wanted her. And I said, hey, I don't blame her. I love Kim. I'm bummed because, again, this is my dream gig. Gary, just please keep me in mind if you ever need me down the road. So he calls me that following Monday and said, it didn't work out. The blend wasn't there or whatever. I can't remember what the reason was. How I got that gig. It was only supposed to be for 6 weeks, but it lasted 2 years because she just kept soaring, and she was on every television show, The Tonight Show, David Letterman, Jay Leno, Today, Good Morning America, Rosie, Regis, you name it. She was everywhere in those 2 years. So I got to ride that wave of watching her go from that green, innocent new artist to the soulful, empowered artist she became so fast, owning her confidence. And watching her metamorphosize before our eyes was a ride I will never forget. But she's my sister girl. I mean, Faith and I love her because she's kind of a tomboy like me. She's athletic, but she's also girly. And we just had so much fun on the road. She and Tim are the best. They spoiled us rotten. We had 10 buses, 12 semis, Bruce Springsteen's caterers, anything that we wanted. They stocked our bus with anything we wanted. And then we had pizzas after the show on the bus when we already had a bus full of groceries. They stocked our dressing rooms, whatever we needed, they catered to us. And that is very rare.
Yes.
That's when you tour at that level, it's really hard to go backwards.
Yes.
From there. So when that tour ended, Faith quit touring and carrying a touring band that she'd had on salary for 8 years. Of course, I was just in there the last 2. But I would not take anything for that.
You guys are with Ringo Starr.
This was in Canada. It was the grand opening of a brand new casino, and he was performing down the street in another venue. He had the night off. And he came to see the show. And I can't begin to tell you how surreal. First of all, I'm a huge Beatles fans. I grew up on the Beatles. I'm just a huge Beatles fan. That's hard to say. I know all their songs backwards, forwards. It's where I learned to sing a lot of harmony. The cool thing about their music is it's so simple and profound at the same time. There are a million parts you can sing to their songs. And I like to find those intricate harmonies that they didn't put in there, that little half steps here and there and blue notes.
You have a favorite Beatles song?
Oh gosh.
The one that is
a lot. I have a lot.
There's so many, right?
But I love Something in the Way She Moves, which that may just be Paul McCartney and Wings, but I also love the long and winding road. Bum, bum, that leads to your door. Love that one. There's not a Beatles song I don't love. Eleanor Rigby, you name it. I love everything they've ever done.
You also you were telling me before we went live, you've got new material and new music that's coming out too, and other stuff that's not even released, right?
Yeah, I'm writing my memoir.
You are?
I'm writing my memoir. I'm also writing a book. It's my 4-step approach to therapy. That's
the title?
The life coaching. That one's called Get Real, Get Help, Get Over It, and Get On With It.
I love that.
Yeah. And so it's a 4-step approach to therapy because people, there's such a stigma with mental health that a lot of people just won't go to therapy. And I've been through some intensive therapy in my life that just set me free and healed everything that was ever painful. And I want to help people and make a difference. And then also writing the memoir to finally tell my Nashville story.
Does that have a title yet, or you're still working on the title?
I have about 100 titles, but I'm thinking Nashville Real.
I like that. Yeah.
Or because when you're like Loretta Lynn said, if you're looking at me, you're looking at country. When you're looking at me, you're looking at Nashville, and you're looking at country music. My grandfather pioneered in the 40s, launching the careers of so many iconic, legendary singers, songwriters, session players. And then he went to Hollywood and starred in 2 movies. Andy Griffith's debut, A Face in the Crowd, which is a Ted Turner classic. I think it's in the Library of Congress, has some kind of place in history. But A Face in the Crowd was Andy's big debut. And my grandfather played himself, Sheriff Big Jeff Bess. And so that kind of launched his acting career. And then he was in a movie about the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, where they were running people off their land.
Yes.
True story, to redirect all, the Cumberland River and the lakes and the waters and everything. And so my grandfather played Lee Remick's brother.
Oh, yeah.
Was the son of the lady that refused to leave her land, this stubborn old country lady. And so he throws the star of the show, Montgomery Clift, into the river. And he didn't have a big part in that one, but he had a big scene in that one. And then they asked him to be Bonanza, be on Bonanza to play the role of Hoss. And he turned it down, Jim. He turned it down.
Turned down Bonanza, huh?
Yes, he turned down Bonanza because he said, I'm a native Nashvilleian. I'm going back to my hometown and I'm doing what I do, country music.
And that Bonanza is not going to be big at all.
Nobody knew,
Nobody knew back then.
I'm sure he was kicking himself 10 years later, Oh, what should have could have.
Had you thought of, have you dabbled in the acting world since it is in the family?
I have. Well, Faith did a lot of commercials. She did an Alltel commercial that the whole band was in. But as far as movies, Tim was in a movie called Country Strong with Gwyneth Paltrow, one of my favorite actors. I love Gwyneth. And he is such a phenomenal actor himself. And speaking of acting, of course, Faith's debut was Stepford Wives, which she didn't have a huge role in. And I just wish she'd have had more of a debut with her acting. But when 1883 came out, I could not wait to see it because I knew she'd be phenomenal because they're both eat up with the it factor, that magnetism and charisma. But she nailed that role. And I was so proud of her. But what were we talking about? Because I'm ADHD and I'm like, squirrel.
Talking about your dabbling in acting.
Yes. So I had a role as a photographer in Country Strong. You'll never see me, but I'm back there just an extra. But it was a paid extra. Yeah.
Well, that's always a good. Principal paid extra. That's a good,
And I'm thinking of doing more as far as acting, but I've done some commercials and I've written some jingles and just different things.
Have you really?
Yeah, nothing huge, just local things. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you enjoy that?
Oh, yeah. I love writing jingles. I love writing anthems like We're the World. That's kind of, and I'm probably going to go down in history for being the funeral songwriter. I have 2 or 3 funeral songs. I know you think it sounds morbid, probably. Yeah,
it's some of the most beautiful material. Yeah.
If you have a chance, check out on YouTube. You can go listen to Don't Cry for Me. It's on iTunes. My album on iTunes is called Let's Go, and it's a gospel album, but it has songs on there that are anthems like We're the World that are just music with a message.
Yeah.
So, I'm really proud of that album, but there's a song called Don't Cry for Me that has become known as the Christian funeral song. And because it
want
speaks.
To sing any of it a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I can sing it for you.
Yeah.
I've sung it at hundreds and hundreds of funerals. It's been played in probably 5 different countries, Australia, New Zealand, all over the UK and all over the US.
Incredible. It's, it's really amazing because we've focused on country, but you have dabbled in every genre just about. I mean, so many different genres of music, right?
I'm lucky that my older brother and older sister, as well as my parents, were so open-minded when it came to music. So I came up with all the classics of all the greats, like Elton John and Ray Charles and Joe Cocker and Edgar Winter. Edgar Winter's album, White Trash, speaking of Peter Bliss, because he mentioned White Trash, is my family's all-time favorite album. We grew up on that. Give it everything you got. Oh, what a well-produced album. White Trash, Edgar Winter and White Trash. Unbelievable album we grew up on. But what was the question? I'm sorry again. I'm ADHD.
What? So you're passionate. You're enthusiastic. Yes. That's what it is.
Yes.
You're talking about
genres.
Yeah, all the different genres as well. And then you were going to also sing a little of the
Don't Cry for Me.
As well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I've had a lot of exposure, of course, like I told you, when I was 20 and got radically saved and went into ministry for 30 years. I had to make peace with my father's death. So when I decided to do a solo ministry in 2001, that album I told you about on iTunes called Let's Go, I wrote all that in a week. The whole album was written in a week. This inspiration came down. It poured out of me. It was my whole life at that time. It is very authentic. But I wrote a song that helped me make peace with my father's death. He was my hero. When he died, I was lost, and I did not know how I would go on as far as the music industry, because he was my connection. And I just was a daddy's girl. And I wrote a song about him, by the way, that I'll sing a little bit for you. But this is the funeral song that I wrote. I had a dream, Jim, and I woke up at 2 a.m. with this song. I wrote it in about 5 minutes.
That's amazing when that happens. I have a friend that does that with screenplays. Wakes up when the house is quiet. There's no texting, no emailing, nothing going on. Totally focused. Wakes up maybe out of half a dream, and would go. At that time, it was typewriter. He'd run to the typewriter and just whatever was happening and whatever was happening. The only thing was he had a big problem with a fear of rejection. So all of these beautiful things that he would invent, create, write, he was a real entrepreneur, a real inventor too. But when he would write these incredible works, the screenplays, instead of getting them out there, he would put them in the drawer. And then like 2 years later, the idea that he had come out in a blockbuster movie.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He didn't circulate the material. I have another friend who's like that in New York. Who's a brilliant animator and cartoonist. And his work, he just does it as doodling, but then it's really extraordinary stuff. And he'll do comic strips and all kinds of things. But he doesn't work in the industry, that industry at all. And he, just doesn't share it with the world. He shares it with us. But it's so extraordinary, and he just doesn't share it with the world. Just fear of reaction, or he's a very quiet. He's a quiet, shy person, so he knows that the attention that it'll bring on, that part of his personality doesn't match that. He loves doing the work, but he wouldn't enjoy the lights on him and the fame and the appearances and all that. He's much more of a steadfast, salt of the earth, quiet person who isn't out for the notoriety, but is a brilliant artist. That happens so often.
I can relate to that so much. In this phone, I have at least 700 voice memos over the last 5 years, thousands of songs, reality show ideas, poetry, books, you name it. There is so much information in those 700 voice memos I may never listen to, but you talk about so many songs that aren't finished. And now I have a new manager, and I'm getting ready to do a tribute album to Tammy Wynette, my country music female vocalist hero. And just also going to do an original album of all these songs. So I have someone who's going to toot my horn for me. One of the reasons that happens to artists like you're describing, Jim, and myself, is because we can sell other people. I can sell you. I can sell anyone else. But to tell someone else, hey, I got a song, listen to it. I was raised not to do that because it's kind of germy. That's a word in Nashville, don't be a germ, don't bug people, don't ask for anything, which was why it was so amazing when Carl Jackson helped me. The single person I ever asked led to Patty, Loveless, Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, and the success that I've had as a background vocalist. What if I had asked the hundreds of record label executives, publishing owners, companies, all these? I've met presidents, traveled abroad with governors and presidents and stuff. What if I had kept the numbers they gave me? What if I had followed up and followed through when they said, give me a call, you've really got something? Fear. It was fear. I lived in fear the first 50 years of my life, which is another reason that I'm doing the self-help book, is to help people learn to transition over to living in love and freedom and the full expression of their authenticity. I'm a late bloomer, Jim.
Yeah.
I'm 58, and I didn't truly step into it and start owning who I am until 3 years ago.
What was the trigger? The loss of the loved ones?
It was 44 years of trauma that started when I was 11. Just a lot of trauma over 44 years that caused me to move from love into fear at 11. And I lived in fear for 44 years. Nobody knew it because I have a real extroverted personality. I'm a people person. I get my energy from people because I love people. and I go very deep in my relationships. I've also been a nail tech in my life. When I wasn't touring, I worked in really upscale salons in Nashville, and I did a lot of artist nails as well, including Pam Tillis and Kitty Wells, and so Tanya Tucker. And so I learned across that nail table how deep it goes, because when you're holding hands and you're face to face and you're talking about life, I can't do surface conversation. I can't just talk about the way, well, that's nice, well, good. How are you doing? When I ask you, how are you doing? It's not because I want to gossip. It's not because I want stuff on you. It's because I really want to know, how are you? How are you doing? So all my friends would call me Spiritual Oprah. And, tease, and my family says, okay, Dr. Phil. I'm like, I'll take it as a compliment. I can't help it because I know about this stuff. I've been through a lot of therapy, and
So
I'm in psychology.
you're not into the superficial stuff that a lot of people are, all the nonsensical, superficial stuff that doesn't really mean anything or amount to anything. It has to have a depth to it, and a warmth and a connection and an empathy. It has to mean something, right?
For 30 years, and I taught this in my ministry, if it ain't real, I can't deal.
So why do you think so much of our society goes in the other direction? Is it that they are fearful?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all following what everybody else is doing, and they're all copying and mirroring what everybody else is doing. They're worried about what everybody else is doing. They know more about what everybody else is doing than they do about themselves. And, there's been such a shift in our society on so many different levels in that direction of, it bleeds, it leads kind of thing. It's just quick and instant, and there's no time to breathe and commiserate and to remember and reflect and savor all these experiences. It's just next. What have you done for me lately? What can you do for me now? Next. Keep banging it out. Keep producing. Let's go 24/7. Come on. What have you got? And I don't know. It's I like to. I'm in an industry that's like that. You keep going. We're live. Okay, here we are, and I love it. But there's also elements of me that I really like to stop and breathe and celebrate what we just worked our butts off for, or take time to pause and listen to the music and gather with the family and go to the ocean. I'm an ocean person. That calls my name. Me too. Big ocean.
Yes.
Grew up near it here on the coast, and we're a couple blocks from it now, and grew up on Long Island where it's just surrounded by it. And so all of these things are important to me, and it just sometimes it seems like, everything is just so, I don't know, clinical and disconnected, and there isn't the warmth and the depth that, not that we all have to be sitting in circles going 24/7. We don't have to do that, but
awareness,
just like, take a minute and let's sit down and have a cup of coffee and what's going on, how you doing, type of thing. I love that's why I say with this show, I don't even call it an interview show. I say it's conversations, because an interview would be, tell us about the CD, tell us about the movie, tell us about the book.
Promo. Yeah.
See you later and out. And I get that all the time. I get a lot of people who, inquire about coming on the show, and I let them know, or their reps know, I say, we'll do that, of course, but we're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about, I want me and the guest and the audience to feel all invested and connected. And we all leave when the show's wrapped going, wow, I learned something. That I was entertained, inspired. I laughed. That was really cool. I want to come back. I want to tune in again. And that's how I've always done it. And it's things that I do, having done it so long, have to matter and mean something too. You get to a point where you can be more selective about what you want to attach your name to, what you want to represent, and what you want to say and do. which is beautiful. You still have to pay the bills and bring the bucks in, but you get to, from experience and caring, and blood, sweat, and tears, and all the rest, you get to still maybe be a little more selective of the things that you do that matter. And it really sounds like you've always been that way, but maybe didn't always have those opportunities to be able to do it. And you came to the point where you said, look, this is me, and this is who I am, and this is what I represent, and this is the music I love, and this is the essence of who Renee is, and this is the story and my voice, and I have found my voice, and now I'm going to share it with the world. It's my voice, not my voice as represented or marketed by this, and this. It is me, authentic me. Take it or leave it. Hopefully you'll like it. Hopefully you connect with it. And here I am.
You so get it. You totally get it. And that's what it is. 8 years ago, I had a crisis of faith. I was just dealing with a lot as far as physical pain. I had a severe lower back. I have a severe lower back issue that pretty much caused me to, it drove me into mental and emotional anguish. And I turned 50, and it wasn't a midlife crisis, Jim, but it was, what am I going to do with the rest of it? I have got to figure out which direction I'm going to go and what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, because I was just feeling like I still hadn't figured out who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. And I had sold out those first 50 years, 30 years in ministry for Jesus, and no regrets. And I still believe what I've always believed, but I had a crisis of faith. So everything came to a head at 50 years old. It intellectually, physically, emotionally, spiritually, I had some reckoning to do. And so at 54, I think it was 2016. Think about that. That was 7 years ago. At 51, I had a nervous breakdown. And I just had come to a place where my whole life I had been trying to be all things to all people all the time. I'd drop everything and go running. I had a plethora of acquaintances that I called friends, that anyone who asked anything of me my whole life, I just did it. I did it. So there was no time for me. So I kept pouring in ministry, and I didn't really have a strong circle of mentors who were pouring into me, who really got me.
They were pulling from you, but your cup wasn't being filled. It wasn't, right. Reciprocal.
And I poured out.
And you wear out and you burn out. You wear out, burn out. Did you start to withdraw and pull in, or did you get angry, frustrated, and mad, or all of the above?
I withdrew and I pulled in. I was suicidal. I was too scared to take my life. And it wasn't that I wanted to die. I just didn't want to go on living the way I had lived. And people would look at my life on the surface and say, oh my gosh, you've had a great life. Look at you, what you've done. But I said deep inside, though, there was trauma, unresolved trauma. And I had to dig in. I dissected my soul for 4 years in weekly intensive therapy, 4 straight years. And it was long before that, like 2005 or 2006, in the height of my ministry, when I decided to write the book, Get Real, Get Help, Get Over It, Get On With It. You want to get real, feel what's really happening inside of yourself, get in touch with it, and then deal with it. Get real, feel, deal. And that's all about forgiveness. Mostly forgiving yourself for not knowing any better, but forgiving anyone who's ever caused you pain. And then you can soar and get on with it. But you can't get on with your life, your purpose, why you're here, the essence of who you are. You're not going to thrive as long as you're just surviving. So I was in survival mode, and I had to learn how to get out of that so that I could thrive and be 100% authentic. So I started that journey 8 years ago. It took me 5 years to get there, 4 years of hard work, of dissecting my soul to the core, to know why I'm here. What am I supposed to do? And that's when I just finally 3 years ago started owning. I'm a native Nashvilleian in the country music industry for over 40 years, who both of my parents were professionals. Both sides of grandparents were professionals and pioneered this town. And people need to hear this story. So I'm bold and unapologetic now, and I'm humble and I'm grateful, but I'm going to share the story and it'll do what it's going to do. But it was my mother's death recently that made me realize, okay, they're all gone. They're all gone. If I don't tell it, because I'm getting older, if I don't document this and tell the story, it will never get told. And you can watch Ken Burton's documentary, really good friends of mine, Lori Davis. She's part of the Carter family. Mother Maybelle is her grandmother. Every year I sing on, we call ourselves the Nashville Brat Pack, but it's children and grandchildren of all the icons of the Opry, of country music, Hall of Famers, like Farron Young's son, Bob Lumen's daughter, Melissa Lumen, and Robin Young. And then you have Hawkshaw Hawkins' son, Hawkshaw. And then you have Billy Walker's grandson, who's a good friend of mine, Sweepy, we call him, but it's Scott Walker. And these kids are keeping all their parents' legacies alive. So I started singing backup for all those artists. Pam Tillis is on this year. It goes down every June, and we'll be doing it at the Texas Troubadour Theater over by Opryland, Music Valley Drive area on June the 8th this year. But Pam Tillis will be the main headliner. And we always have, a big headliner every year. But it's all the kids and grandkids paying tribute and keeping their, parents and grandparents' legacies alive. And it's time for me to do the same for mine.
Did you ever, through the years, have a self-imposed pressure on your shoulders of living up to the legends within the family, the parents, the grandparents, all of these beloved people who've worked with and supported and launched other legendary people? So you're surrounded by all of these names and all of this expectation. Did you was it expected from them on you, or did you place it on yourself? And did you have to deal with a lot of that, living up to these grand names within the family?
The main thing, I guess, was just growing up around all the artists that were famous, thinking, that's the dream, because that was the only example of success we had in our family. My father was on TV more than he was home, because he was a touring guitarist for 30 years who worked for all the icons in their heyday. So he was gone. And it was easy to idolize him because of that. He wasn't home for the blood, sweat, and tears, and he'd come in couple times a month and do daddy duty and take us to fun places. So he was the star. But that was the only example I had in my family of true success, was the spotlight, television, and that was success to me. So that was the bar I set for myself. And the thing that intimidated me, to answer your question, Jim, was just my dad being such an iconic guitarist. Chet Atkins recorded a song that my dad wrote on one of his albums. He had so many albums, but he and my dad were great friends. Jerry Reed, all of those thumb style players. Just growing up with that caliber of the best musicians in Nashville, the A-team players, the ones who play on all the records, all the hits. And so it was pressure. It was pressure of, will I ever be that good? And to have been able to follow in all their footsteps and live their lives and experience what they experienced on the road and performing on these stages has been the thrill of a lifetime. But what I want to do more than anything now is, we did not go down in history for any of it. I watched the Ken Burns documentary, and like I said, the Carter family, the founding family, and Jimmy Rogers, all these iconic artists that were responsible for paving the way. Well, my grandfather preceded them. He was that hillbilly pioneer, native Nashvilleian. When he was 20 minutes, Ashland City, just west of Nashville, but quickly moved. My mother was a native Nashvilleian. She was born in Ashland City, but they immediately moved into Nashville. And so we just always lived in Davidson County from then on in the 40s. So I just want it documented. who my family was and what they did, because we're famous for not being known for business. All this crazy talent every which way you turn, but nobody was business minded enough to make sure it got documented in history. So I feel not pressure, but I feel a responsibility. And the way that we sent my mother off in December, we paid such tribute to her. We played her records that everybody was crazy about. She could have been. So we have a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas. And I just want to tell the story so that their lives were not in vain. And this is my mother right here. Let me move my microphone. My beautiful mother, her best friend, Patsy, who says, Judy, a wonderful friend. It's fading now. A wonderful friend of mine and a great singer, something like that. Love you, gal. And then, of course, my dad right here. I don't know if you can see, I've got this in the way. My dad, and then I've got some really cool pictures. I've got a picture of me and Bono up top up here from the Grammy Awards in 2000. I was never a person, Jim, to ask for photos when I'd meet all these. I mean, I've met so many people throughout my lifetime. Like I said, presidents and governors and senators, and traveling abroad and sharing dinner every night in VIP. And I've never gotten photos. So at the 2000 Grammys, this record behind me, that's when Faith won the Grammy for Breathe, her first Grammy right there. It's hard when you're in the camera and you're like, okay, which way is left and right? But this album right here, 7 times platinum, and probably more since then, because that was 20 years ago. And for the Breathe album. But anyway, that was at the Grammy Awards, all these photos with Dolly and me and Faith after she won her Grammy, and all the backup singers back here when we were touring with her. But I met Bono and shared a really great conversation with him. One of my heroes, the Beatles, U2, and don't laugh, but I freaking love Coldplay and Chris Martin. I really love alternative music, have a very diverse taste. I love traditional country. I love it all. If it's a great record, well produced, I just love great records. Like one of my favorite records of all time, and this, I don't know how you feel about it, but there was a group called 10cc. Do you remember them?
Oh, yes.
And, you know, I talked about the spontaneous song combustion.
Yes.
One of the number one songs I bust out in just at any given moment randomly is, I'm not in love, so don't forget. It's just a silly place I'm going through. And it's just the way it was produced and those background vocals.
Fantastic.
And
yes.
That's the greatest records of my life. I love great records. And that's
Bread, too, is another great group from the 70s. Bread.
Oh, yes. And I got to meet and record with David Gates because he was friends with Billy Dean, and David Pack of Ambrosia as well. We sang backup on one of Billy's songs together, and he just lives in Franklin over here. And they're all moving here now. Steven Tyler, one of my heroes, is here now. And one of my girlfriends, Janae Fleener, who's Musician of the Year, CMA Musician of the Year twice, plays for Steven. And she's also Blake Shelton's fiddler. She's amazing. Unbelievable. So,
incredible. Wow.
It's a great town to be in. I'll tell you, we're not just the country music capital. Like you said, we are the capital of music, period, in the world.
It's the maternal grandfather, right?
Yes, that's Granddaddy Big Jeff that was married to Tootsie of Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. He's responsible for launching that establishment with her.
It's incredible. Did you want to sing the song for us?
Don't Cry for Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're definitely asking for it. And that's a beautiful, that sounds like it's something, do they need to get any Kleenex prepared or?
Well, it's the Christian funeral song. And I'll just tell you, I had a dream about my own funeral. And it's because I was grieving.
I've done that too.
Have you? Tell me about it.
It's interesting. I've done it where tell me about it. I have. Yeah, I've had. It's kind of interesting. And it's funny because I'll mention it to my folks and they were like, especially my mother will be like, why are you telling me that? I don't expect to be there. I'm not going to be there. And it's
People
funny
don't want to hear it, do they?
what it is I see the people that are here now there, you know what I mean? Because they're here now. So who would you want at at it are the people that you love and family and friends and what have you that you have here now. And I used to have the dream years ago too. So the people that were also here then were also in it, which chronologically and everything else wouldn't necessarily make sense, but it was based not really on the chronological order of who goes first based on age and generations and all that. More of who are the people in your life that matter the most that you would expect they would be there just because of the love. But again, chronologically, your great great grandparents probably wouldn't be there. But it just, you know what I mean? You just think about the
Yeah.
fact that these people, so that they laugh and they say, we don't want to hear this because we're not going to be there. but I'm always, it's an unusual thing. I'm up. You don't see me because I'm looking down, but I'm above. I'm never at the level of a
Me too.
casket. I'm never at the level with people. I'm not mingling with people. And obviously I'm not talking to them because I'm the star of the show there, but I'm up above and I'm always looking down and I see the people and I see, the coffin. I don't see me in it. It's closed. So I don't see me, but I feel it as how I would script it if I was to script my own. I've done about 4 or 5 eulogies for people over the years. And now I have relatives that have actually put in pre-orders for me to do their eulogy, like you with the music, and I'm like, you're going to live to 110. Let's not discuss that right now. You want me? Well, I love the way you did the eulogy for Uncle Ray. Oh my God. You had everybody crying and you had the video and the music and, you're going to do mine. I'm like, okay. So I've got a list of people that have me, on standby to do theirs. But when I do have that occasional thought of the dream, I'm looking down at the room. I don't see the procession. I do not see a resting place. I don't see graveyard or any of that. I see what's more of the wake. I see the rows of chairs and the people and the flowers I see that more than I see like burial or any of that kind of thing. I just see more of where the people are there paying respects. It's an interesting. We've got to be really deep people to be thinking of those kinds of things.
Exactly. That's why I love talking to you after watching the Peter Bliss thing. I'm like, I'm going to have so much fun with Jim because he's going to get it. He gets it. And there's just so few people who can't go that deep, and I'm always going to go there.
Yeah.
Critical thinker.
So what do you see when you see yours?
So for me, how old were you when you lost your first close family member?
Let's see. I was 11 and it was an uncle. And at that time, kids didn't necessarily go to the funerals because they were scary and they were adult. So they didn't go. So we were all the cousins and all of us were babysat by one of my aunts who stayed to watch us all the cousins. And my mother has a huge family. She's the youngest of 16, my mother. So it's a big, big family. So there was an uncle that passed. And at that time, generational, funerals are too scary for the kids. Now all ages go to everything. But at that time it was 11 and we didn't go because it wasn't a kid thing, if that makes any sense. That's just the way they thought at that time. So,
well, it was also the mindset that children are to be seen and not heard. There's some places children don't belong, which I disagree with, but
yeah, it's like, it's scary. It's going to be very scary for them and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd say the uncle, at 11, I'd say 11 was the first understanding that people disappear. Yeah. And then the first funeral I actually went to was of a high school high school friend. And her name was Susan. And this was history class. It was 11th grade. And she sat next to me. So they had the individual chairs, not desks, but the individual chairs. So you have the chair, and then you have the little desk part of the chair, which always was rotten for us left-handed people because our arms would hang off the desk because they're made for the right-handed kids. So we would always have to, but she sat next to me, and she was quite popular. And she was a very loving person and warm, and we would always say hello to one another. And she always, the way the chairs were lined, I think I was the third chair from the teacher. She was the next row, third chair from the teacher, and just a very pleasant person. And never got up the gumption to go up to her to ask her to go for, an ice cream or something. Had thought about it, but didn't get the chance to do that, though the thought was there, because we got an announcement one of the days in school. The PA system, I think it was the principal, came on and mentioned they were going to do a moment of silence for the passing of one of our classmates. And I noticed in history class, her chair was empty.
No.
And what had happened was something happened in her house, where something on the stove caught fire.
No.
So she was trying to put that out, and then her younger brother was running around, and she ran to go get him out of the bedroom and get him back out of get him quickly out of the house and get the dog out of the house. And then she went back in to try to put it out, and the smoke overtook her.
Oh,
so
and y'all were how old?
She was, let's see, you're what, 16, 17, 11th grade?
Man.
11th
That's
grade, you're about
heartbreaking.
17, right? 11th grade, yeah. So around 17. So they had made that announcement, and the school was just like, it was, pause sitting. Nobody was saying anything. Everybody was upset. The teachers were upset. The kids were upset. And I just remember that we had heard that announcement, and that was a total shock.
Yeah.
She just passed so suddenly like that. And then the way that she did, her brother was on the lawn, and, she was 17. So she was watching over her brother while her parents were at work, and they came rushing home. And the firefighters went in, and the whole house didn't burn down, but the smoke inhalation got her. And
excuse me.
So they said, they made an announcement in the school, any students who want to go to her wake, her funeral, her ceremony, it's going to be at the church. You can take the day off and go. They allowed anybody that wanted to go. You weren't going to get, missed attendance or any of that. And so I said, you know what? Out of respect for this beautiful soul, I'm going to go. So I went, with other friends, but it was the first time I was actually with the ceremony, with the coffin coming down the aisle and everybody crying and all of that. And it was for a student who was a friend who sat next to me, whose chair then the rest of the semester was empty, which was very strange. So that was the first time. Yeah, first was a uncle at 11. Second was of a classmate in school.
Yeah. When I was little, 10 or 11, my sister's friend Candy, who lived right down the street, across the street and a couple of houses down, passed away. And that was the first time I ever found out that, we could perish. And I remember my mom didn't often dress up, and she had on this really nice black dress, and my father was in off the road, and he had on a suit. And so I didn't really understand that. And they came and they looked so nice. And I'm like, ooh, y'all look nice. And they're like, yeah, we had to go to Candy's funeral. It's the first time I ever heard the word funeral. But then fast forward, when I was 15 years old, one of my homeroom students was murdered and I witnessed it. I was at a big comprehensive high school that had just opened and it was overcrowded. And there were some kids there that shouldn't have been there, like some kids with special needs that somehow got lost in the shuffle. There was a girl there that was real heavy and losing her hair. And Darla was the class clown. It was a love-hate thing with Darla Love. Darla Love was her name. And she had been in my homeroom 7th and 8th grade. And we had just gone to this big, huge comprehensive high school, Whites Creek High School, as freshmen, and school had just started. My sister was a senior. I, of course, was a freshman. And so for 3 weeks, I was in economics with Darla and this troubled girl. And Darla would pick on her. You so fat and you bald and things like that. And I kept thinking, the look on that girl's face, I thought, oh gosh. But luckily I was able to change my schedule and move right next door to an English class. And like I said, the school was overcrowded. There were gangs and riots. There was not enough staff, enough adults to oversee all the kids. There was just a lot of things happening. It was very unorganized at first.
Boy, some things don't change, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds like today.
Yeah. So I was always the one when the bell rang to change class. I'd be the last one out. I never was the first one out the door, but for whatever reason on this particular morning, Jim, the bell rang and I was the first one out the door. And what do I see? All I could see was that girl's back, and it looked like she took her fist and just hit Darla, and I just thought she just hit her. But what she had actually done, she had taken all she could take, and she brought an 8-inch butcher knife up her right sleeve to school. And when she went like that, it was a butcher knife that went down through Darla's collarbone, her jugular, and punctured her lung. And so with all the hundreds and hundreds of students in that school, who does Darla run down the hallway? I witnessed the stabbing. And then she runs right into my sister, who's a senior, and gets blood all over her.
Oh.
I mean, hundreds of kids in the hallway. How me and my sister, freshman and senior, that was eerie. And then she fell down about 50 feet in the hallway and just suffocated in her own fluids. And so I was in the main office all day with one other witness that was a senior named Terry. He and I were gym class partners and good friends. And so we were in there all day. It was so surreal with, all the news stations and police and investigators and just tell them what we witnessed. But that girl went to second period with the knife and the blood on it up her sleeve. She went straight to second period.
They didn't grab her and
there was nobody there. I mean, it happened so fast. And see, they rang the bell. We were changing classes. She just went to class. She did it and went to class. It was so fast.
Wow.
And we did not realize when Darla fell down the reason why, or why she was bleeding, because it just looked like the girl hit her. So they went to the second period applied math class, and there was the girl that did it. So she was a special needs girl that got lost in the shuffle, shouldn't have been in a public school. Bless her heart, but Darla picked on the wrong girl, and that was just heartbreaking. So I think because of that trauma, and then I lost several friends as teenagers, like you were talking about, car wrecks. In car wrecks with them, I've been in a lot of near-death experience car wrecks where other people were driving, where I wasn't in control. So I have dreams about that too. But back to the song and back to death, my dad dying when I was 20 and that trauma, I had this fear. And I had to make peace with death. So I had this dream. And in my dream, I am in the casket. And it's kind of like a mob movie where all the women have these black veils and black gloves. It was real morbid. Everyone in black and, it was so funny. Drama. So I'm lying in the casket and here I am like sold out for Jesus Christ for 30 years. So it's just like, I'm all about the victory, right? And telling people he has victory over the grave and all that. So I'm in the casket and I'm frozen and I can't move and I can't speak. And I'm frustrated because I'm wanting to tell them I'm happy. I'm with Jesus. I'm happy. I've reached the goal. Do we really believe what we say we believe here? Why do we cry then? We already know this life is temporary. We already know human beings are going to die because we're adults. We know this now. And we're believers and all about the joy. And I know that I know that I know I'm going to see Jesus. But do you really? Because then why do you mourn and cry? Yeah, we're going to miss the people, but it's a celebration if they've made the goal. So I just woke up with this song. And I've had terminal patients call me who heard it played on different radio stations when it first came out. And they would tell me, I'm at perfect peace, but my kids are a wreck. And every word of this song is exactly what I want to say to my family to comfort them when I'm gone. And then so they'd ask me, can you come sing it at my funeral? And I've sung it at hundreds and hundreds of funerals, of course. I'm an ordained evangelist, so I can baptize you, wed you, and bury you. Marry you, bury you, and dunk you in water if you need it.
All in the same day?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm a great multitasker.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to comfort my loved ones and tell them, no, don't cry. Don't cry. I'm happy. I'm with Jesus. And so I woke up in this state of bliss, and I just wrote this song in 5 minutes, and it goes like this. Oh, and then the terminal patients' kids would call me months later and let me know. I have so many emails and things from people where they said, my mother's so-and-so, she had called you and requested that song at her funeral. Just want you to know what a blessing it was, how much comfort it brought all of us. And it spoke from the grave on her behalf. It's exactly what she would have said. So I've had to, don't ever write a funeral song. You'll have to sing it at everybody's funeral that you ever know.
Kind of like the eulogies and people placing orders with me to do their eulogies. I know.
Yeah, it's like Mercy Me's I Can Only Imagine. Vince Gill, Go Rest High on That Mountain. I can't tell you how many Nashville funerals in the industry I've been to where Vince is singing Go Rest High on That Mountain. Of course, with Patty Loveless, my old boss. So
anyway, a beautiful song, Luther Vandross, "Dance with My Father."
Yes,
that's a wonderful song
Luther.
that he's sang. Yeah,
Luther.
He was singing the song to his father.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this song not only brought me peace, but it was just meant to be my personal last will and testimony, my personal funeral song. Because I decided I'm going to pre-plan my funeral. I'm going to have a video come on right over the casket that says, hey, I bet I'm the last person you thought you'd see here today. I'm going to preach my own eulogy because who knows me better than me? And I'm going to make sure it's done right, right?
Yeah, I was going to start with, they were going to do the video and it was going to be of my baby pictures. And so you really grab them in the beginning.
The chronological order of the life of Jim Masters.
The whole, where they nobody starts their car because they're riveted.
Exactly.
With the music and the violins and the harps and the
This used to be the last song I would sing before the invitation when I was in ministry. And I'd say, if you cannot authentically say these words, you might want to think about making sure you can before you leave here today. That would be my invitation song. And I'd sing the song. Got a little frog.
That's it.
I'm not going to make any excuses.
You're already choked up.
I'm so choked up. So it goes like this. If today should be the day that I breathe my final breath, don't cry for me. When my race on earth is run and they lay me down to rest, don't cry for me. 'Cause a long, long time ago, I chose heaven as my goal. I let Jesus in my soul to set me free. So when it's all been said and done, I'll be living with God's Son. Don't cry for me. Don't cry for me. I'm in a better place. Don't cry for me. I can't see Jesus' face. My time has come, but I'm not alone. I keyed it too high, Jim. I'm about a half a step too high. I'm going home. Don't cry for me. I'm going to bring it down half a step and finish it. If you need to shed a tear, let it be for joy. Don't fear eternity. Put your faith in God above. Trust in Jesus and his love, and you will see that there is hope beyond the grave, and the joy of being saved is knowing he has won the victory. I'm gonna leave this world of strife, so celebrate my life. Don't cry for me. Don't cry for me. I'm in a better place. Don't cry for me. I can see Jesus' face. My time has come, but I'm not alone. I'm going home. Don't cry for me. My time will come. Oh, but I won't be alone. I'll be going home. Don't cry for me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah.
And of course, my sisters made me play it for my mom's funeral. And then they reminded me of a song that I wrote 20 years ago that they wanted played as well that I'd forgotten about.
So it was, you played it versus performed it, right? Because it was probably very
We played it.
difficult
I couldn't
to try
sing
to.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've sung it at so many family funerals, and I just decided I'm not doing it anymore. We'll just play it.
What
because
runs through you as you're doing it?
It's just hard processing my own grief when I'm trying to. I mean, it's definitely a song they requested to be sung at their funeral, and I've sung it at all of them except for my mom's, but I just didn't want it to be a performance. I did not want to. I wanted to be able to sit there and listen and grieve and experience the song from the spectator's perspective. And
right. Yes.
Every time I sing the song, I just think about it being the last will and testimony of the person lying there. And that's what they would say. And I have tons of letters from those terminal patients where they said, this is what I want to say. I'm a believer. I have peace. I want to comfort my children. And then the children telling me how much comfort it brought them and healed them.
Incredible.
And so I wrote a song called Love You, See You, Bye, if you're up for another one, that we played at Mom's funeral. And this one was a joke because I used to always say to everybody, love you, see you, bye. My mom would say it. They got it from me. Co-producer friend of mine, Buddy Hyatt, he would always say, love you, see you, bye. Love you, see you, bye. Because I say, okay, love you, see you, bye. That's my way of signing off. Love you, see you, bye. So my girlfriend, who's a lyricist, she's Kathy Lee Crosby's sister. Her name's Lucinda Sue Crosby. But
Kathy Lee Crosby, didn't she used to
those amazing animals?
Yes, and that's incredible with John Davidson and Fran Tarkington. John Davidson's been on our show twice.
Awesome. I love him. But anyway, yeah, she's a lyricist in Palm Springs, Palm Desert. And she's many, many things, just an amazing genius, but such an influence on my life. But she came to Nashville one day to write with me. And she walked in and she laid this lyric down. And it said, love you, see you, bye. And I said, what? And I read the lyric and the record came to me. Because when I write music, I'm hearing it from a producer's standpoint. Matresa Berg told me when I was 17, she said, "You're a producer." I said, "What's a producer?" She said, "They're the ones that make the record sound like the record sounds, hiring the right players, getting the right parts, making sure that record has a certain production." She said, "You hear all that when you're writing." So when she laid that lyric sheet on my kitchen counter, I mean, the song was done in 5 minutes. Boom. We tweaked some lyrics here and there, and then it was done. And we went in and did a work tape of it. I'm getting ready to do a full production of it in the studio coming up. But it goes like this. It's about a couple who had a wonderful marriage and the spouse dies, and this is the other spouse's story to them, their way of saying goodbye. So it goes, "Who knew the last time that we kissed would be the last time that you would hold me, warm, sweet, and true the whole night through, like it was something you were born to do. They say when you first fall in love that it's the best time, but they did not see how every blessed day you made me feel like such a woman in every single way. I'll always love all the things that we dreamed of, and I'll see you every place I'll ever be. By God gave you angel wings to fly. Love you, see you by. We walked down through the years side by side, arm in arm, hand in hand, say eye to eye, hand in hand. We laughed, we held on tight, sometimes we cried, but when heaven called, you had to go. I understand, and I know that I still have my life to live, and it's a good life. And so I will give all this love you left behind, even though my heart is up there with you, looking down at me here below. I'll always love everything that we dreamed of, and I'll see you every place I'll ever be. By God gave you angel wings to fly. Love you, see you by. Love you, see you by. Sorry.
That's very moving and very beautiful and very, very touching.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't sing it at my mom's funeral. We just had to play them, and I still came undone. But I never imagined when I wrote those songs that they'd become, that for me. They were just personal and telling someone else's story, But sorry, I didn't mean to come unglued.
Yeah, but they come from, a place of love and heart, and it's that's why so many people resonate with this. I think if you are able to connect with people, on a level that
Mm,
goes deep, there's nothing better, no matter how
that's what
you
I
do it.
live for.
Yeah, whatever your role is in life, whether you're doing music, whether you're an on-air personality like me, or anything that any of us do in life, if you can inspire people and connect them and have a good time and really plug in, um, there's nothing better. That's what it's all about. That's what this whole thing, it's why the earth is turning, is so we can
Yeah.
learn from each other and feel and just celebrate and cherish and remember. I think it's very important. Absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. That's
Thank you.
are any of those songs up for any awards? Have they been submitted for anything, or because they really are
Nothing yet. Nothing yet, but it's coming. It's
yet? You
I've
know,
never made my first impression in my own hometown. 40 years. I've just because of fear. But I'm not afraid anymore, Jim. I'm
she's
no
not
longer afraid.
afraid. Nah, high five on that one.
My friend, heck
That's
yes.
it. That's it.
Yes,
See?
I felt that. Thank you.
Yes.
I can feel your energy coming through, love.
The
Coming
rose
through.
is blossoming. The rose is blossoming.
The late bloomer, and that may be the title of the book, Late
The
Bloomer.
late bloomer, right? Absolutely.
And
Yes.
I've got a song for that too. It doesn't matter what people say. We're all growing at our own pace. I wish I could have learned it just a little sooner, but I'm a late bloomer. I'm so country. I'm
It's
so
nice.
country.
It's
That's all
nice.
I'm doing to that one. That one hasn't been
Yeah,
finished yet.
that's in the blood. See, that was a little exclusive teaser there.
I'm a
Why do
late
you
bloomer.
love this so much, you late bloomer, you? Why do you love, what propels you to keep doing it through everything that you've experienced, the triumphs, the glories, all of the beautiful scenarios that come with it, but at the same time, loss, tragedy, things that happen that derail. But at the same time, here you are. It's very empowering and very inspiring for anybody else that is going through something that isn't necessarily somebody in the public eye, that doesn't live their life where there's lights shining on them, where they're going through something right now, and they're hearing this conversation, the various things that has been shared between the two of us in this, not interview, but conversation, Dick Cavett style.
Yes.
That's
I
what it
loved
really
him.
is.
I
Carson
loved Dick.
Cavett. That's
He
what I like.
was so great.
Those just draw you in, and you
Mhm.
just roll with it. And I love that, because that's what
You
life's
know, he was
about.
so deep. He suffered from
He
debilitating
had
depression,
right. He did, yes,
electroshock therapy, and
because
everything. I mean,
he was so deep and so
mhm.
involved. Exactly right. And the blessings and joys in your life that keep you going through it all. What are some of those?
Well, I overcame 44 years of depression by healing all the trauma, and I moved from fear into love, and I know how to help people do that. I spent 30 years in ministry helping people get free. The thing I've learned about belief systems is that the only difference is terminology, just the way we communicate it. So once I got free and got released into a constant state of bliss, of just living in love and no longer in fear, no longer insecure, no longer all that low self-esteem that I couldn't seem to overcome on the surface. I always looked confident, together, the same as I look now, but on the inside of me, intimately, I was broken. I was wounded, and I had learned, I thought it was a chemical imbalance that ran in my family, the depression thing, but it wasn't. It was trauma. And my therapist told me that first week, she said, I really don't think it's anything other than trauma. And I think once you deal with all that and heal everything, you're going to be free. And 4 years later, after weekly therapy, intensive, I did a lot of self-work. I also studied relentlessly, history, politics, you name it, I have cracked it. I have cracked it. And I realized I believe what I've always believed, just differently about it. But my life has come full circle,
Yeah.
and it's time to tell the story.
How has the experiences that you've gone through influenced your music, and how is it changing what your voice is now through the music today, now that you are blooming?
It's a great question. The authenticity, you're going to have your greatest art you've ever created when you are so uninhibited and unapologetic. That's why we love icons like Elvis and Mick Jagger and Joe Cocker and Elton John, because they were uninhibited. They knew who they were. I call it oozing what you are. We ooze what we are. It's our essence. It just comes out. And I never was free in that until now, because I'm so genuinely interested in so many things on so many levels that I have these 10 paths I could go down all the time. You know, it's not just a fork in the road. It's 10 avenues I could take, things that would bring me fulfillment and joy. And I just haven't known which direction to go until now. So I have to do it all. The books, the speaking, whether I wind up like Brene Brown or Oprah, or I wind up, because I'd love to do what you're doing, where I have a talk show and become very intimate with people. I thought about a great reality show the other day. I won't give it away, but it would be all these female entertainers, singers, like are in my tribe, my circle, and me bringing them into the intimate, like we're all sitting on these sectionals in our PJs, having girl time, like a slumber party. And we talk about relationships with men. We talk about intimate details, sex without being graphic, but we talk about to help educate men what it takes to make women happy, what it is to help, what it means to understand a woman, what a woman's basic needs are, if you're really interested in her needs, you know, and just getting really real and helping women get free to admit they have needs too and desires too, just things like that, all kinds of stuff, but just real intimate stuff, you know, cozy, deep, warm, intimate, you know, just let the world see that. I have about 10 reality shows I'd like to do, talk shows. So these things, because I'm creativity run amok. If I'm awake, it never stops. It's constant. Songs, movies, and I see it like you were talking about from the top down. So when I go to write a song, okay, song idea, I'm not only hearing the record and I'm in the studio producing it, I'm seeing the video release. I'm seeing it go into a movie because of the story we're telling. And I'm seeing it from the top down as a CEO. So I'm like, okay, which part do I play? I can't do everything. There's only so much time in a day. So
You're exactly
then I just freeze and don't do anything because I don't know what to do first.
Because are you a perfectionist?
Yes. Yes. Most great artists and producers are. You are too.
I know. We've had this conversation with a guest just last night, I believe, and with multiple.
An overcoming perfectionist.
I've got a friend who she says that she's a recovering perfectionist. I'm like, I don't know if there's really such a thing. It's either you are in certain things. A lot of it is really also about what you do. Well, that's what I tell.
Excellent.
I was just telling Carolyn Palmer, the extraordinary internationally acclaimed sculptor who was on last night, and she's done sculptures of Lucille Ball, of the popes. I mean, just really the Roosevelts. She's like world renowned, and she has her studios in New York, and she was on. And I asked her right away, because she said it. I said, are you a perfectionist about your work? About these beautiful, she just did an extraordinary one that is in the hometown of Frank Sinatra, where he grew up, and Tina Sinatra was with her on the unveiling, and it was just really amazing. And that was on last night's episode, a great conversation. And I asked her, are you a perfectionist? And I said to her, and I said it to a couple of other people, there's another guest that's going to be on. I said, how about this? Instead of saying the word perfection, perfectionist, perfect, say excellence. Say lose the word perfection, dump that word, and replace it with excellence. You're striving for excellence. And when I've said, and I just said that off air before I even started this series or anything else, I said it like, I don't know, 10 years ago. I said, lose the word perfection, replace it with excellence. You're still striving. They run parallel to each other, but one is very claustrophobic and confining. The other one is
Liberating.
something that's more attainable. And the perfectionistic part is more claustrophobic and strangling. So let that fall off and let the striving for excellence continue. And they're always like, oh my God, how liberating and freeing that is.
It's a mindset. It's the terminology, right?
It's a mindset, right?
And we can change that. We have the power to change our thoughts, change our words, and change our lives.
Yes,
and it's easy. And I want to be a part of helping people do that. You know, so many of us are stuck. You spoke earlier about followers. It's my personal belief that the majority of humanity are followers. I witnessed it in the pulpit when I would speak to congregations.
Oh, yes.
That the reason belief systems and religions and things work is because the majority of people are not critical thinkers. They are followers who let someone else, anyone who calls themselves a supposed leader, they'll follow. They say
that in mobs, when there's mob scenes, mobs of people.
Let someone else do my thinking for me.
I mean, the Black Friday sale at Walmart, when people are going for a toaster that's $5 off and they're mobbing, that is that same sort of mentality.
Following. Yeah. Some kind of charisma or something drawing you to follow.
You're not a follower.
Oh, no. But I followed because I did not know that I was the leader that I am. But all that's changed in the last 3 years, Jim, since I got set free.
I understand what you're saying. It's right. You follow and get along with everyone and can mix and mingle with
and never meet a stranger. You don't either.
Exactly right.
Never.
But you have your own thoughts and beliefs and things that are important to you. But now you are expressing them and vocalizing them and sharing them through your commentary and through the music. And I think that's very, very important. With this series, I'm sort of doing the same thing as well, because it's not as maybe, the other work I do in television and radio, it's structured and has various things, and working for networks and stations and companies and all this kind of stuff, production companies, radio stations, TV stations, networks, where there's certain things, there's a certain branding and a certain feeling and a certain code and different things, scripts and all kinds of things. This is just throw it out there and see where it lands.
Yeah. Throw it at the wall, see if it sticks. Yep. I just want everything to be authentic. I want my life to not be in vain. I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said to know that one life has breathed easier because of mine, because I lived. That's the goal. If I could just help one. Of course, which is what drove me into ministry to begin with, to help people get free, whether it was salvation or whatever it is. But I want to help people get free from whatever is. I ask people, what is that thing that is, what is holding you back? What are you holding on to that is holding you back?
That's right.
Let it go. And I've learned that's the secret, letting go. Letting go is the secret, because I was holding on so tight. And I was trying so hard to prove myself and trying so hard to achieve and trying. When I just let go and started being, just be, it'll happen. And great things have been happening in the last few years.
Did you notice when you did decide to do that and you created boundaries for yourself that you probably didn't have before?
Firm.
A few people, not many, but a few people who were sucking the energy away were always depending on you to rescue, always depending on you to figure it out for them, always depending on you to be their glory and their happiness and their joy, their entertainment, all of that. When you said, I got to create boundaries for me, not that I'm cutting you off, but I just have to create some boundaries. I'll still be there. I'll still do what I have to do, but I have to serve me first. Mm-hmm. Did you notice maybe a couple people just sort of falling off the earth as a result?
Many.
It's amazing how that happens, huh?
Many. One thing I had to find out as far as ministry, when I was in the height of my ministry was when Facebook started. So all 5,000 of my friends, like I couldn't accept any new friendships because it was maxed out. Of course, that's when you have to start a page. But when Facebook started, we didn't have pages to begin with. But I had these 5,000 evangelicals. Evangelical fundamentalism is what I was raised in, not to wax political or religious, but it was a very strict upbringing, very legalistic. And so we would speak about grace, but it's like people were still being judgmental of things they didn't understand. And me being in the entertainment industry in so many genres since I was 17, I have lots of friends that are LGBTQ. I have lots of friends who are people of color. And so I would just hear remarks growing up in the South, growing up in that little evangelical fundamentalistic bubble. It was just real strict teaching, like don't drink, don't dance, don't curse, don't. And I used to say, okay, it's kind of like a diet. Don't tell me all the foods I can't have, that I'm going to be deprived. Give me a top 10 list of 10 things I can eat. I'll go over to the store, buy those 10 things, but don't tell me the 100 things I can't have, because that's going to defeat me, right? So in church,
and many people will go searching for the things that they can't have.
Yeah. And so I would question pastors all the time. And first of all, I'm a female. I'm only worth a rib, right? Adam's rib, if that. So we're not to question the man, right? But I was always too much and never enough. Always too much and never enough. Too flamboyant, too outspoken, too masculine for a woman as far as being a leader, or too mouthy or too loud, or too much makeup, too much hair, I once got accused. I was in someone else's ministry singing in a gospel quartet, and the leader of it accused me one time of affecting the love offering detrimentally because I wore red lipstick that day. Okay. I call that majoring on minors, and I put up with that for 30 years in the church. So that's petty and that's shallow. And I railed against that in evangelical fundamentalism for 30 years till I burned out and realized I threw up my hands and said, okay, so I thought I was mad at religion. I thought I was mad at, it took me these last 8 years of deconstructing my belief system and reconstructing it to come full circle to realize I still believe the same thing I've always believed. I just believe differently about it now. I speak differently about it. So I wasn't mad at God. I wasn't mad at religion. I wasn't mad at faith. I wasn't mad at Christianity. I was angry about the legalism and the false teaching of evangelical fundamentalism. So there, I said it. And I wasn't mad at the people. They were as brainwashed and indoctrinated as I was. You know, we don't want to disappoint our parents and our grandparents, so we keep repeating the dysfunctions. History repeats itself. It doesn't have to. If we learn from it, that's just settling. History repeats itself. Well, much of it does, but there's a lot that we can change, and we can all be game changers in that because we know more now. We know more. We know how to overcome these things. But my goal is that when I'm gone from this earth, that I left something behind that benefited somebody's life in some way. And I have a lot of ideas about how to hopefully help people get free and be able to live their most authentic and to thrive and not survive. I watched my mom survive her life. She never thrived.
Right.
I watched her survive her life because of trauma.
Yeah.
And she protected us from it. And which is why she wouldn't go on the road and pursue her own dreams. And I always felt kind of, you were talking about pressure earlier. I always felt like I have to do for Mama what she couldn't do for herself. You know, I've got to sing because I'm my mom and dad made over. I'm mostly my dad made over because we had the same musicality. But I have my mother's voice. And I look the most like her out of the 5 kids. And I was always the one that took care of her whole life. But thank God for my 2 sisters. They're all I have left now, Sharon and Tina, my older and younger sister. We're the 3 musketeers now. And I thank God for my sisters. I have a little brother, but we're estranged, and that's his choice. So
That's life, right? Life coming full circle on so many different levels and so many different ways. Like this episode, this was really extraordinary. For the music, the laughter, the inspiration, the interactivity with the viewers, and you being real and authentic and sharing your story from the beginnings through all of it, and the new rebirth and blossoming that's happening, and stories being told through conversation and coaching, as well as through music, which is a universal language and very healing. It's a full circle situation, and you are in a beautiful and sweet spot right now in your life, Renee.
And I so appreciate you being open to having me on the show. And thank you, Carol Grace Anderson, again, for connecting me with Jim Masters. You are the master of doing this, I will tell you. And lovity. I'm definitely in lovity with your show.
I appreciate that. And you got a lot of binging to do, 900 episodes.
Yes, I do. And I can flat binge, and I needed a new series, so I've got me one.
Oh, I like that. She's got a flat binge.
I am a binger.
She's not going to just binge. She's got a flat binge.
I'm going to flat binge it, Jim. I am. I'm going to watch everything. That Peter Bliss thing was so great.
What a
Loved
great
it.
last name for him, huh? Bliss?
Yeah. And that's what I've been telling people for 3 years, that I live in a constant state of bliss until these last 6 months. Lots of grief, but I'm coming out of that now. I'm just in the last week starting to emerge. So I'm kind of glad we had reset our dates a couple of times, because I really wasn't ready emotionally. I had to grieve. So about a week or two ago, I started coming out of that and being myself again, and
good things come to those who wait.
I appreciate the timing of this. Yes. And you are masterful indeed. And I'm grateful for your time.
Oh, today. I appreciate that. And the viewers already said that you're a Jim Masters show lovity, which I think is fantastic. Even Jane in Sweden says you're a lovity now, Renee. So
yay!
There are
Jane.
There's country music awards, CMAs, there's Grammys and Tonys and Tellys and Oscars and Emmys and Clios and all these great awards. But how does it feel to be told you are a lovity on the Jim Masters show?
That is the top of the heap for me. That's the pinnacle. I have arrived.
You have arrived. It took all these years, and here you are. And we've waited for you and kept the porch light on for you. Like I always say, a lot of guests, when they hear that they're a lovity, they say that their feet are tingling. Are your feet tingling?
Yeah, I'm kind of actually tingling from head to toe, if that's okay. If that's permissible, I'm tingling. I'm very tingling.
Perfect.
It's going to take me at least the rest of this evening to wind down. I just hope I can get to sleep by midnight. I'm so pumped. I'm telling you, it's been pretty inspiring.
You're an hour behind us. So
where are you?
We are here in the New York area. So we are
the Big Apple.
Yeah, we're right, along the southern New England coast, and it's
it.
Approaching almost 9:30 here. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so envious. I love that area.
You love the Northeast, New England, and Boston, and Connecticut, and New York, and
I've been to 49 of the 50 states. I haven't made it to Alaska yet, but I will. But I love New York and LA. Of course, I've flown, 100 times to both for television, East Coast and West Coast. But I have a lot of friends up north. I have a lot of Canadian friends. I have friends from all over the world. And so I'm excited to make more friends through this episode tonight, Jim. Thank you for that opportunity to connect me with your fans. I'm grateful.
The pleasure is all mine. And as my father has always said and told us early, these nuggets of wisdom when I was like 7, 8 years old, whenever anybody says something kind or nice, ask them to please put it in writing and address it management.
To whom it may concern.
Yes, whoever the management is at the time. This was awesome. And again, I hope the show met whatever expectations you had, Renee, and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you.
Oh, you've exceeded my expectations because I didn't really have any. I just wanted to connect, and I just thank you for it. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome. And spread the word about the Gym Masters show. If you know other folks, that, as you can see, it takes a village. People come on, they love it, and they tell other people, I was on the show, you should go on. And that's how it seems to be rolling, which is really, really a beautiful, beautiful thing. As it
I'm
does.
going to send you a lot of artists. I'm going to send you some very, very cool people that you can consider for guests.
Fantastic.
That's okay. I'll try not to overwhelm you, but I know some unbelievable, like Lauren Massetti. I have a friend named Liz Longley, great artist. Oh, goodness gracious. Incredible music, incredible stories. You'd love it.
Cool stuff. You're gonna make a sandwich now?
I think I am going to go make me a little sandwich. Have a little salami and cheddar cheese in there. I think make a nice little charcuterie tray.
Oh, that sounds good. This is a foodie crowd, so we will wrap now because they will get hungry.
Yeah,
do you like to cook?
Make me a charcuterie. I do, and I grew up cooking Southern like Cracker Barrel. I've lost 80 pounds in the last 2 years.
By not having that.
Simply by learning to cook with olive oil and sea salt. And I roast all of my vegetables that get roasted in the oven now with sea salt and olive oil. So I eat really clean and healthy. Lots of salads. And I only drink grape Propel. Can I say that?
Isn't that stuff good? The grape Propel is good. Yeah.
And I realized I was dehydrated my entire life, and that was my weight issue. So once I got off Coca-Cola. I was addicted to Coke for 40 years.
Soda, yeah.
Let go of that. Let go of sugar, carbs. I just drink water all the time. And
feel better. It's good for the skin, everything. Yeah. Huh?
I feel as good as I did it when I was 30.
Great for the
I feel like a kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, we're just, as I always say, we're just big kids in adult clothing.
And I'll be this way when I'm 99. If I get to live that long, I'll still be this same. If I still have my mind, I'll be young at heart.
When you're 99, we'll have you back way before that, but we'll definitely have you back on your 99th birthday.
All right. That's a deal.
And somebody that will celebrate it with us, Mr. George Burns.
Hey, and I saw you guys also bring up Gumby. I have Gumby.
Where is Gumby? I think he had Gumby.
Yeah, I know.
Peter Bliss came out with Gumby.
Let me see if I can find my Gumby right quick.
There's the chair. Another chair.
I'm going to have to find it. I don't know where my Gumby is.
You have a Gumby?
Oh, yeah. I've had it for like 25 years, my Gumby.
So my aunt collected dolls, and this got passed down to me through the family, and it's a real collectible.
George and Gracie.
George Burns, yes, with his cigar and his.
I so loved him.
So that if you had Gumby, then you'd probably appreciate Gilligan.
Oh, I watched it every single day of my childhood. Loved Gilligan. I always wanted to be Ginger, the movie star.
That's right. The Professor and Marianne.
Hear a Gilligan song. Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started on this tropic board aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a tiny sailor man, the skipper brave and sure, with Marianne, the skipper too, or whatever. The movie star or the millionaire and his wife. The movie star, the professor and Marianne. Anyway, they had two different versions. I think I'm trying to sing them both.
Her next album is going to be cover versions of your favorite TV themes.
I remember getting home from school, and at 2:30 it would be Match Game. I think 3:00 was The Munsters.
Yes, Match Game.
And Gilligan's Island, and
there was
every
another
day.
one with Burt Convey, Tattletales.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you love game shows?
Sure, yeah.
Trivia.
I competed with the Game Show Network to be a national host.
Oh, you should be that. You should be that. You're so good.
Yes.
I love game shows. I work crosswords constantly. I do word games. I love puzzles. Yeah.
Yeah. I've hosted a lot of sports, weather, news, shopping shows, game shows, talk shows, public affairs shows, news programs, everything you can think of on air, DJ, radio, all of it. Yeah. MC, the whole bit. You know how it is. You do a lot in this industry. I know. In front of the camera, behind the scenes.
How do you keep it from being a distraction? Because I'm like, squirrel, 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 creative idea. There's a song, there's a movie, to where I never can focus on the one thing. But I am taking medication for the ADHD now, so it's really helping.
So do you take days off
Not lately.
now?
I've been working overtime I'm off today, except for this. I've been working overtime for about 2 months trying to recover financially from the broken engagement. So I'm working about 12 hours a day.
With that?
Will there be what?
Song in the offing regarding that?
Oh yeah, the book and the CD will accompany it. When I write my books, I'm going to have the CD that goes with it, because when I write a CD, it's the whole story of everything in my life at that moment. It'll follow the chapters of the late bloomer.
Right.
I'm a late bloomer. I am.
Yes, she is. Well, this was awesome, my friend. Thanks for literally opening your heart and your soul with us here on the Jim Masters Show. I'm sure it exceeded this conversation and this episode with the entertainment, the singing and everything, exceeded even our viewers' expectations, those watching live and those who will watch this in the archives. This episode will be archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. You can share the links, everybody. You can celebrate, leave a comment in the comments section, give us a thumbs up, like if you enjoyed it. And you didn't need to bother with the Pro Tools or any of that. You just belted song after song, including Gilligan's Island. See?
Thank you for letting me. It's spontaneous song combustion.
That's exactly what it is, right?
You sing all the time. It's involuntary. It's like breathing. I don't realize it. It's just in me. It's just, I can't help it. It's just in me. I don't plan it. I don't think about it. It's just, we can be in the middle of a conversation. I'm going to break out into song if you say something that triggers me.
I do that too. Yes, I do. As we're driving, I'm always like sort of sometimes announcing billboards and signs and,
something triggers a memory and there's a song or there's
a song or something,
a one-liner from a movie.
That's right. Next exit is Cracker Barrel on exit 54. I'm doing it like an announcer.
Yeah, I love it.
We've just entered Greater Boston. You know what I mean? I'm doing all the announcing as we're driving in the car because I'm seeing the billboards and I'm reading them aloud, which is fun. Just doing what we do, right? Doing what we do.
Doing what we do.
And loving it.
Lovity. I'm lovitying it. I'm lovitying it.
Now go stretch those legs and get the circulation going.
Gonna do it. I'm gonna go eat some salami.
That's it. And cheese. And we'll keep the porch light on for you, my friend. Thanks for stopping by the show. Happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow.
Yes.
And we will see you again. We'll keep that porch light on for you, okay?
Okay. Take good care of yourself, Jim. Thank you so much again.
Well, Renee, this really was something extra special.
And thank you to everyone who watched. Thank you for your time. All the lovely
viewers.
Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. You be well. You take care.
You too. Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Renee Martin coming to us live from Nashville, Tennessee, USA, with an epic conversation filled with lots of levity. Yeah, great conversation, great music, authentic, real, inspirational, motivational, spiritual. I mean, I think we covered just about everything in our arsenal of conversation capabilities here at JMS. Hope you guys enjoyed it, because what we do here is something a little bit different. And whether you come in for, the full thing, or you're just watching here and there and you go back and, maybe you came in late with this episode because you're doing something else like eating dinner or whatever. It's archived. You'll never miss a thing because we archive and save all the episodes on our YouTube channel right here at Jim Masters TV. So some of these episodes, you just get involved in them and you watch them and you're like, and me too, when I have time to watch them again. Sometimes, I watch things with a critical eye because it's me doing what I do, but we're always looking to tweak and improve and upgrade and do all the things we can do to bring you the best product possible. But you get great conversations like this, and it's absolutely spectacular. And thanks to everybody who watched live and everybody who's going to be watching this later in the archives. We appreciate it. Extraordinary singer, songwriter, producer, and fabulous arranger and music, vocal, and life coach with a phenomenal story to tell. Very open, very real. comes from an iconic, legendary music family in Nashville. She was open and real about all the experiences. Her family have worked with some of the biggest names in music, helped launch some of the biggest names in music. She's worked with the biggest names in music over the years, several of them. And she herself is a tremendous name and talent. And she didn't need an orchestra or a band. You know, she was initially setting it up. We were doing a sound check beforehand, and she was setting it up where there's going to be backing tracks and music and other kinds of stuff. She didn't need it, did she? No, she just belted out the music for us, the songs, the melodies, the lyrics. She shared with us some exclusive music that hasn't even been released. She went back into her archives and pulled up some very important and meaningful music for her, that has touched and inspired others. And she threw in some fun stuff too, Christmas music, the Gilligan's Island theme. That was a surprise. A lot of other cool stuff. You guys are terrific. Kathleen Walker in New York says, great show, Jim. Beautiful music. Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. Everybody who's commented in the JMS Lovely Hole chat room, we thank you very much for the comments. Don't forget, you can always leave a comment on our YouTube channel in the comments section 24/7. And don't forget to give this episode a thumbs up like. Very important. We love when you do that because it helps our show grow. We love it. We appreciate it. And we thank you for it. YouTube loves it too, because when YouTube sees you're doing that, they take these episodes and they share them with more people around the world. When you give us the likes, you leave the comment, and you interact with us on our YouTube channel on these episodes. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, hit the red subscribe button and be sure and subscribe. There's no cost to do it. You just hit subscribe. It means you're part of our viewership, our family here at the Jim Masters Show series. And we really, really appreciate that so much. We've got so many incredible guests who are joining us. I want to let you know, coming up on Saturday, the incomparable Jill Jacobson is going to be with us. Brilliant actress. She's been in Star Trek The Next Generation. She starred in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. She starred on Falcon Crest. You name the show, soap operas, everything. She's been on it. Movies galore. She's been in it. Acclaimed television, film, stage actress with a fabulous sense of humor. The award-winning Jill Jacobson is going to be with us. She's been in just about everything. She's going to be with us on Saturday. And then on Sunday, guess what? From Ireland, Victoria Johnston's going to be with us. Yes, chart-topping singer, songwriter, and composer. Fabulous Irish spirit. She's going to be with us, coming to us here from Ireland as we're celebrating St. Patrick's Day holiday weekend. She's got some great music and great stories and some exciting things to share with us right here on the Jim Masters Show. And that's just some of the guests. Also coming up, Nikki J. Borger is going to be with us as well. Award-winning actress, screenwriter, producer. She's coming up on our show. So is Steven Suskin. He's a legendary American theater critic, historian of musical theater, an author, and so much more, all coming up here on the Jim Masters Show, and so many more guests. And again, we've done somewhere around 900 episodes. So there are so many shows we've done already that if you haven't seen them, check them out. They're all there for your viewing pleasure. We thank you for joining us here on the show. This was absolutely fantastic. Around here, we don't say goodbye. We say see you later. Ciao, cheers, sláinte, moi loop, avida zain, hajda. Let's see. We say sayonara. We say shalom, cheerio, sláinte. Hope you have a very happy St. Patrick's Day. For those of you celebrating, we're Irish on our mother's side. They hail from Ireland. So we're going to be celebrating tomorrow. Hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day. We love you all. Thanks for being with us. Don't forget to love one another. Take care of one another. And don't forget to relax. Take time for yourself. Whatever you do, enjoy it. Even if it's just sitting and relaxing and watching the Jim Masters Show. Relax and enjoy. We thank you so much for watching. We really, really value you. And thanks for those of you who follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Jim Masters TV, and who write to us and comment. You follow, you tweet, you share our episode links, you leave comments on the Facebook pages. We thank you for that as well. And for those of you here on YouTube at Jim Masters TV, we love and thank you as well. Our international audience watching around the world, you mean the world to me and to us. And for that, we always say thank you. This is Jim Masters, your host, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, stay tuned. Many more episodes coming up for you right here in Lovely Hall at the Jim Masters Show. Take care and be well. And cheers.